Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Second channel for another reading of the book Sophie's World, which is essentially Western philosophy, the history of Western philosophy, and introduction to various ideas that are there as a part of that Western philosophy, written by Jostein Gaarder, a Norwegian author. So we are joined in the panel by SK Garu as well for the reading. SK Garu, welcome to the panel.
Hello, Andy.
Hello. So last week we finished the Renaissance, the chapter, the subchapter of the chapter, and in this reading, we are going to at least do this other next subchapter called the Baroque, basically, and the next one is another subchapter called Descartes. So we'll see if we are going to get to Descartes or we will wrap and then we'll do Descartes in the next session. We'll see how quickly we proceed in this particular session. So with that said, we'll let SK Garu take it away and start the reading. Please go ahead.
The Baroque. Such stuff as dreams are made on. Let's see what it means. That's the subtitle. Okay, Sophie heard nothing more from Alberto for several days, but she glanced frequently into the garden, hoping to catch sight of Hermes. She told her mother that the dog had found its own way home and that she had been invited in by its owner, a former physics teacher. He had told Sophie about the solar system and the new science that developed in the 16th century. She told Joanna more. She told her all about her visit to Alberto, the postcard in the mailbox, and the 10-crown piece she had found on the way home. She kept the dream about Hilda and the gold crucifix to herself. On Tuesday, May 29th, Sophie was standing in the kitchen doing the dishes. Her mother had gone into the living room to watch the TV news. When the opening theme faded out, she heard from the kitchen that a major in the Norwegian UN battalion had been killed by a shell. Sophie threw the dish towel on the table and rushed into the living room. She was just in time to catch a glimpse of the UN officer's face for a few seconds before they switched on to the next item. "Oh no," she cried. Her mother turned to her. Okay. Yes, war is the terrible thing, said Mom. Sophie burst into tears.
No, sorry. I was reading on mute. Sorry, SK.
Okay.
Her mother turned to her. Yes, war is a terrible thing, she said.
Sophie burst into tears.
But Sophie, it's not that bad.
Did they say his name?
Yes, but I don't remember it. He's from Grimstad, I think.
Isn't that the same as Lil Sand?
No, you're being silly.
But if you come from Grimstad, you might go to school in Lil Sand. She had stopped crying.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, she had stopped crying, but now it was her mother's turn to react. She got out of her chair and switched off the TV.
What's going on, Sophie?
Nothing.
Yes, there is. You have a boyfriend, and I'm beginning to think he's much older than you. Answer me now. Do you know a man in Lebanon?
No, not exactly.
Have you met the son of someone in Lebanon?
No, I haven't. I haven't even met his daughter.
Whose daughter?
It's none of your business.
I think it is.
Maybe I should start asking some questions instead. Why is Dad never home? Is it because you haven't got the guts to get a divorce? Maybe you have got a boyfriend you don't want Dad and me to know about? And so on and so on. I've got plenty of questions of my own.
I think we need to talk.
That maybe. But right now, I'm so worn out, I'm going to bed. And I'm getting my period. Sophie ran up to her room. She felt like crying. As soon as she was through in the bathroom and had curled up under the covers, her mother came into the bedroom. Sophie pretended to be asleep, even though she knew her mother wouldn't believe it. She knew her mother knew that Sophie knew her mother wouldn't believe it either. Nevertheless, her mother pretended to believe that Sophie was asleep. She sat on the edge of Sophie's bed and stroked her hair. Sophie was thinking how complicated it was to live two lives at the same time. She began to look forward to the end of the philosophy course. Maybe it would be over by her birthday, or at least by Midsummer Eve, when Hilda's father would be home from Lebanon. I want to have a birthday party, she said suddenly.
That sounds great. Who will you invite?
Lots of people, can I?
Of course, we have a big garden. Hopefully, the good weather will continue.
Most of all, I would like to have it on Midsummer Eve.
All right, that's what we'll do.
It's a very important day, Sophie said, thinking not only of her birthday.
It is indeed.
I feel I've grown up a lot lately.
That's good, isn't it?
I don't know. Sophie had been talking with her head almost buried in her pillow. Now, her mother said,
Sophie, you must tell me why you seem so out of balance at the moment. Weren't you
Weren't
like
you
this
like
when you were 15?
Adinadi?
No, no, no. Weren't you like this when you were 15? That's the mom saying.
No, that is
Oh,
Sophie
weren't you like
asking
this
her
when you were
mom.
15? Sophie is asking the mom. Okay, go ahead. Probably, but you know what I'm talking about.
Sophie suddenly turned to face her mother. The dog's name is Hermes, she said.
Is it? It is?
It belongs to a man called Alberto.
I see.
He lives down in the old town.
You went all the way with the dog?
There is nothing dangerous about that.
You said that the dog had often been there, been here.
Did I say that? She had to think now. She wanted to tell as much as possible, but she couldn't tell everything. You're hardly ever at home, she ventured.
No, I'm much too busy.
Alberto and Hermes have been here lots of times.
What for? Were they in the house as well?
Can't you at least ask one question at a time? They haven't been in the house, but they often go for walks in the woods. Is that so mysterious?
No, not in the least.
They walk past our gate like everyone else when they go for a walk. One day when I got home from school, I talked to the dog. That's how I got to know Alberto.
What about the white rabbit and all that stuff?
That was something Alberto said. He's a real philosopher, you see. He has told me all he has told me about all the philosophers.
Just like that, over the hedge?
He has also written letters to me, lots of times actually. Sometimes he has sent them by mail, and other times he has just dropped them in the mailbox on his way out for a walk.
So that was the love letter we talked about.
Except that it wasn't a love letter.
And he only wrote about philosophy?
Yes, can you imagine? I have, and I have learned more from him than I have learned in 8 years of school. For instance, have you ever heard of Giordano Bruno, who was burnt at the stake in 1600, or of Newton's law of universal gravitation?
No, there's a lot I don't know.
I bet I bet you don't even know why the earth orbits the sun, and it's your it's your own planet.
About how old is this man?
I have no idea, about 50 probably.
But what is his connection with Lebanon?
This was a tough one. Sophie thought hard. She chose she chose the most likely story. Alberto has a brother who is a major in the UN battalion, and he is from Lilsand. Maybe he is the major who once lived in the major's cabin.
Alberto is a funny kind of name, isn't it?
Perhaps.
It sounds Italian.
Well, nearly everything that's important comes either from Greece or from Italy.
But he speaks Norwegian.
Oh, yes, fluently.
You know what, Sophie? I think you should invite Alberto home one day. I've never met a real philosopher.
We'll see.
Maybe we could invite him to your birthday party. It could be such fun to mix the generations. Then maybe I could come too. At least I could help with the serving. Wouldn't that be a good idea?
If he will, at any rate, he's more interesting to talk to than the boys in my class. It's just that
What?
they would probably flip and think Alberto was my new boyfriend.
Then you just tell them he isn't.
Well, we'll have to see.
Yes, we shall. And Sophie, It is true that things haven't been easy between Dad and me, but there was never anyone else.
I have to sleep now. I've got such awful cramps.
Do you want an aspirin?
Yes, please. Okay. When her mother returned with the pill and a glass of water, Sophie had fallen asleep. May 31st was a Thursday. Sophie agonized through the afternoon classes at school. She was doing better in some subjects since she started on the philosophy course. Usually, her grades were good in most subjects, but lately they were even better, except in math. In the last class, they got an essay handed back. Sophie had written on man and technology. She had written reams on the Renaissance and the scientific breakthrough, the new view of nature, and Francis Bacon, who had said that knowledge was power. She had been very careful to point out that the empirical method came before the technological discoveries. Then she had written about some of the things she could think of about technology that were not so good for society. She ended with a paragraph on the fact that everything people do can be used for good or evil. Good and evil are like a white and a black thread that make up a single strand. Sometimes they are so closely intertwined that it is impossible to untangle them. As the teacher gave out the exercise books, he looked down at Sophie and winked. She got an A and the comment, Where where do you get all this from? As he stood there, she took out a pen and wrote with block letters in the margin of her exercise book, I am studying philosophy. As she was closing the exercise book again, something fell out of it. It was a postcard from Lebanon. Hmm. Dear Hilda, when you read this, we shall already have spoken together by phone about the tragic death down here. Sometimes I ask myself if war could have been avoided if people had been a bit better at thinking. Perhaps the best remedy against violence would be a short course in philosophy. What about the UN's Little Philosophy book, which all new citizens of the world could be given a copy of in their own language? I will propose the idea to the UN General Secretary. You said on the phone that you were getting better at looking after your things. I'm glad because you're the untidiest creature I've ever met. Then you said the only thing you had lost since we last spoke was 10 crowns. I'll do what I can to help you find it. Although I am far away, I have a helping hand back home. If I find the money, I'll put it in with your birthday present. Love, Dad, who feels as if he's already started the long trip home. So that's the letter, okay. Sophie had just managed to finish reading the card when the last bell rang. Once again, her thoughts were in turmoil. Joanna was waiting in the playground. On the way home, Sophie opened her school bag and showed Joanna the latest card.
Wait,
Okay.
is it my turn to read? Hang on.
Joanna, when is it
Just give me
postmarked?
1 second. When is it postmarked? Asked Joanna.
Probably June 15.
No, look. 5th May, 30th May, 1990, it says.
That was yesterday, the day after the death of the major in Lebanon.
I doubt if a postcard from Lebanon can get to Norway in one day, said Joanna.
Especially not considering the rather unusual address. Hilda Moller Nag, care of Sophie Amundsen, Furulia Junior High School.
Furulia, yeah.
Furulia.
Do you think it could have come by mail? And the teacher just popped it in your exercise book?
No idea. I don't know whether I dare ask either.
No more was said about the postcard.
I'm going to have a garden party on Midsummer Eve, said Sophie.
With boys?
Sophie shrugged her shoulders. We don't have to invite the worst idiots.
But you are going to invite Jeremy.
If you want, by the way, I might invite Albert and Knox.
You must be crazy.
I know. That was as far as the conversation got before their ways parted at the supermarket. The first thing Sophie did when she got home was to see if Hermes was in the garden. Sure enough, there he was, sniffing around the apple trees. Hermes! The dog stood motionless for a second. Sophie knew exactly what was going on in that second. The dog heard her call, recognized her voice, and decided to see if she was there. Then, discovering her, he began to run toward her. Finally, all four legs came pattering like drumsticks. That was actually quite a lot in the space of 1 second. He dashed up to her, wagged his tail wildly, and jumped up to lick her face. Hermes, clever boy. Down, down. No, stop slobbering all over me. Heel, boy. That's it. Adi. Sophie let herself into the house. Sherekan came jumping out from the bushes. He was rather wary of the stranger. Sophie put his cat food out, poured bird seed in the budgerigar's cup, got out a salad leaf for the tortoise, and wrote a note to her mother. She wrote that she was going to take Hermes home and would be back by 7. They set off through the town. Sophie had remembered to take some money with her this time. She wondered whether she ought to take the bus with Hermes, but decided she had better wait and ask Alberto about it. While she walked on and on behind Hermes, she thought about what an animal really is. What was the difference between a dog and a person? She recalled Aristotle's words. He said that people and animals are both natural living creatures with a lot of characteristics in common. But there was one distinct difference between people and animals, and that was human reasoning. How could he have been so sure? Democritus, on the other hand, thought people and animals were really rather alike because both were made up of atoms. And he didn't think that either people or animals had immortal souls. According to him, souls were built up of atoms that are spread to the winds when people die. He was the one who thought a person's soul was inseparably bound to the brain. But how could the soul be made of atoms? The soul wasn't anything you could touch like the rest of the body, it was something spiritual. They were already beyond Main Square and were approaching the old town. When they got to the sidewalk where Sophie had found the 10 crowns, she looked automatically down at the asphalt. And there, on exactly the same spot where she had bent down and picked up the money, lay a postcard with the picture side up. Picture side up. The picture showed a garden with palms and orange trees. Sophie bent down and picked up the card. Hermes started growling as if he didn't like Sophie touching it. The card read, Dear Hilda, life consists of a long chain of coincidences. It is not altogether unlikely that the 10 crowns you lost turned up right here. Maybe it was found on the square in Lillsand by an old lady who was waiting for the bus to Kristiansand. From Kristiansand, she took the train to visit her grandchildren, and many, many hours later, she lost the coin here on New Square. It is then perfectly possible that the very same coin was picked up later on that day by a girl who really needed it to get home by bus. You never can tell, Hilda, but if it is truly so, then one must certainly ask whether or not God's providence is behind everything. Love, Dad, who in spirit is sitting on the dock at home in Lillsand. P.S. I said I would help you find the 10 crowns. Hmm. On the address side, it said Hilda Molenag, care of a casual passerby. The postmark was stamped June 15th, 1990. Sophie ran up the stairs after Hermes. As soon as Alberto opened the door, she said, Out of my way, here comes the mailman. She felt she had every reason to be annoyed. Alberto stood aside as she barged in. Hermes laid himself down under the coat pegs as before. Okay. Has the major presented another visiting card, my child? he asked. Sophie looked up at him and discovered that he was wearing a different costume. He had put on long curled wig and a wide baggy suit with a mass of lace. He wore a loud silk scarf at his throat, and on top of the suit, he had thrown a red cape. He also wore white stockings and thin patent leather shoes with bows. The whole costume reminded Sophie of pictures she had seen of the court of Louis XIV. You clown, she said, and handed him the card.
Hmm. And you really found 10 crowns on the same spot where he planted the card.
Exactly.
He gets ruder all the time, but maybe it's just as well.
Why?
It'll make it easier to unmask him. But this trick was both pompous and tasteless. It almost stinks of cheap perfume.
Perfume?
He tries to be elegant, but it's really a sham. And you see how he has the effrontery to compare his shabby surveillance of us with God's providence.
He held up the card, then he tore it to pieces. So, as not to make his mood worse, she refrained from mentioning the card that fell out of her exercise book at school.
Let's go in and sit down. What time is it?
4 o'clock?
And today we're going to talk about the 17th century.
They went into the living room with the sloping walls and the skylight. Sophie noticed that Alberto had put different objects out in place of some of those she had seen last time. On the coffee table was a small antique casket containing an assorted collection of lenses for eyeglasses. Beside, beside it lay an open book. It looked really old. What is that? Sophie asked.
It is the first edition of the book of Descartes, Descartes' philosophical essays published in 1637, in which his famous Discourse on Method originally appeared, and one of my most treasured possessions.
And the casket?
It holds an exclusive collection of lenses or optical glass. They were polished by the Dutch philosopher Spinoza sometime during the mid 1600s. They were extremely costly and are also among my most valued treasures.
I would probably understand better how valuable these things are if I knew who Spinoza and Descartes were.
Descartes.
Descartes, okay.
Of course. But first, let us try to familiarize ourselves with the period they lived in. Have a seat.
They sat in the same places as before, Sophie in the big armchair and Alberto Knox on the sofa. Between them was the coffee table with the book and the casket. Alberto removed his wig and laid it on the writing desk.
We're going to talk about the 17th century, or what we generally refer to as the Baroque period.
The Baroque period? What a strange name.
The word Baroque comes from a word that was first used to describe a pearl of irregular shape. Irregularity was typical of Baroque art, which was much richer in highly contrastive forms than the plainer and more harmonious Renaissance art. The 17th century was, on the whole, characterized by tensions between irreconcilable contrasts. On the one hand, there was the Renaissance's unremitting optimism. Just give me 1 second. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Renaissance 17th century was on the whole characterized by tensions between irreconcilable contrasts. On the one hand, there was the Renaissance's unremitting optimism, and on the other hand, there were the many who sought the opposite extreme in a life of religious seclusion and self-denial. Both in art and in real life, we meet pompous and flamboyant forms of self-expression, while at the same time, there arose a monastic movement turning away from the world.
Both
Both,
proud palaces.
yeah, go ahead. Both
Both.
proud palaces and remote monasteries, in other words. Yes, you could certainly say. Oh, sorry, I, Sophie should read Sophie's dialogue. Yeah. Okay,
Both
while we are
proud
doing that,
palaces and
Dawji
remote
has joined the panel.
monasteries.
Welcome, Dawji. So please continue, Ms. Gaarder.
Yeah, both proud palaces and remote monasteries, in other words.
Yes, you could certainly say that. One of the Baroque period's favorite sayings was the Latin expression "carpe diem," seize the day. Another Latin expression that was widely used was "memento mori," which means "remember that you must die." In art, a painting would depict an extremely luxurious lifestyle with a little skull painted in one corner. In
In
many
many
senses,
senses. Okay.
yeah, I think it's probably continuation. I don't know. Please go ahead.
Mm. In many senses, maybe it's yours. The Baroque
Yeah,
period
yeah,
was characterized by vanity
yeah,
or meeder anukunta.
yeah, yeah. In many senses, the Baroque period was characterized by vanity or affectation. But at the same time, a lot of people were concerned with the other side of the coin. They were concerned with the ephemeral nature of things. That is, the fact that all the beauty that surrounds us must one day perish.
It's true. It is sad to realize that nothing lasts.
You think exactly as many people did in the 17th century. The Baroque period was also an age of conflict in a political sense. Europe was ravaged by wars. The worst was the 30 Years' War, which raged over most of the continent from 1618 to 1648. In reality, it was a series of wars which took a particular toll on Germany, not least as a result of the 30 Years' War. France gradually became the dominant power in Europe.
What were the wars about?
To a great extent, there were wars between Protestants and Catholics. Bingo. But they were also about political power.
More or less like in Lebanon?
Probably, apart from the wars, the 17th century was a time of great class differences. I'm sure that you have heard from the French aristocracy and the court of Versailles. I don't know whether you have heard much about the poetry of the French people, but any display of magnificence presupposes a display of power. It has often been said that the political situation in the Baroque period was not unlike its art and architecture. Baroque buildings were typified by a lot of ornate nooks and crannies. In a somewhat similar fashion, the political situation was typified by intrigue, plotting, and assassinations.
Wasn't a Swedish king shot in a theater?
You're thinking of Gustav III, a good example of the sort of thing I mean. The assassination of Gustav III wasn't until 1792, but the circumstances were quite baroque. He was murdered while attending a huge masked ball.
I thought he was at the theater.
The great masked ball was held at the opera. We could say that the Baroque period in Sweden came to an end with the murder of Gustav III. During his time there, During his time, there had been a rule of enlightened despotism, similar to that in the reign of Louis XIV, almost 100 years earlier. Gustav III was also an extremely vain person who adored all French ceremony and courtesies. He also loved the theater.
And that was the death of him.
Yes, but the theater of the Baroque period was more than an art form, it's symbol of the time.
A symbol of what?
Of life, Sophie. I don't know how many times during the 17th century it was said that life is a theater. It was very often anyway. The Baroque period gave birth to modern theater with all its forms of scenery and theatrical machinery. In the theater, one built up an illusion on stage to expose ultimately that the stage play was just an illusion. The theater thus became a reflection of human life in general. The theater could show that pride comes before a fall and present a merciless portrait of human frailty.
Did Shakespeare live in the Baroque period?
He wrote his greatest plays around the year 1600, so he stands with one foot in the Renaissance and the other in the Baroque. Shakespeare's work is full of passages of a life as a theater, about life as a theater. Would you like to hear some of them?
Yes.
Okay. In As You Like It, which is a Shakespearean play, he says, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. And in the Macbeth, he says, life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It's a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
How very pessimistic.
He was preoccupied with the brevity of life. You must have heard Shakespeare's most famous line, to be or not to be? That's the question. Oh, that's yours, sorry.
To be or not to be? That is the question.
Yes, spoken by Hamlet. Hamlet is a prince. One day we are walking around on the earth, and the next day we are dead and gone.
Thanks, I got the message.
When they were not comparing life to a stage, the Baroque poets were comparing life to a dream. Shakespeare says, for example, we are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep.
That was very poetic.
The Spanish dramatist Barca, de la Barca was born in the year 1600, wrote a play called Life is a Dream, in which he says, what is life? A madness. What is life? An illusion, a shadow, a story. And the greatest good is little enough, for all life is a dream.
He may be right. We read a play at school. It was called Zepp on the Mount.
By Ludwig Holberg, yes, he was a gigantic figure in Scandinavia, marking the transition from the Baroque period to the Age of Enlightenment.
Zepp falls asleep in a ditch and wakes up in the Baron's bed. So he thinks he only dreamed that he was a poor farmhand. Then, when he falls asleep again, they carry him back to the ditch and he wakes up again. This time he thinks he only dreamed he was lying in the Baron's bed.
Holberg borrowed his theme from Calderon, and Calderon had borrowed it from the old Arabian tales. A Thousand and One Nights compared life to a dream, though, is a theme. Comparing life to a dream, though, is a theme we find even farther back in history, not least in India and China. Yes. The old Chinese sage Chuang-Tzu, for example, said, once I dreamed I was a butterfly, and now I no longer know whether I am Chuang-Tzu who dreamed I was a butterfly or whether I am a butterfly dreaming that I am Chuang-Tzu. Very good.
Well, it was impossible to prove either way.
We had in Norway a genuine Baroque poet called Fetter Das, who lived from 1647 to 1707. On the one hand, he was concerned with describing life as it is here and now, and on the other hand, he emphasized that only God is eternal and constant.
God is God if every land was waste. God is God if every man were dead.
But in the same hymn, he writes about the rural life in northern Norway and about lumpfish, cod, and coalfish. This is a typical Baroque feature, describing in the same text the earthly and the here and now, and the celestial and the hereafter. It is all very reminiscent of Plato's distinction between the concrete world of senses and the immutable world of ideas.
What about their philosophy?
That too was characterized by powerful struggles between diametrically opposite modes of thought. As I have already mentioned, some philosophers believe that what exists is at the bottom spiritual in nature. This standpoint is called idealism. The opposite viewpoint is called materialism. But this is meant by this is meant a philosophy which holds that all real things derive from the concrete material substances. Materialism also, so he's describing materialism. Materialism also had many advocates in the 17th century. Perhaps the most influential was the English philosopher Thomas Hobbes. He believed that all phenomena, including man and animals, consist exclusively of particles of matter. So it's similar to our Vaiseshika. Even human consciousness or the soul derives from the movement of tiny particles in the brain.
So he agreed with what Democritus said 2000 years before.
Both idealism and materialism are themes you will find all through the history of philosophy, but seldom have both views been so clearly present at the same time as in the Baroque. Materialism was constantly nourished by the new sciences. Newton showed that the same laws of motion applied to whole universe and that all changes in the natural world, both on earth and in space, were explained by the principles of universal gravitation and the motion of bodies. Everything was thus governed by the same unbreakable laws or by the same mechanisms. It is therefore possible in principle to calculate every natural change with mathematical precision, and thus Newton completed what we call the mechanistic worldview.
Did he imagine the world as one big machine?
He did indeed. The word mechanic comes from the Greek word mechane, which means machine. It is remarkable that neither Hobbes nor Newton saw any contradiction between the mechanistic world picture and belief in God. This is a line that needs to be underlined. But this was not the case for all 18th and 19th century materialists. The French physician and philosopher Le wrote a book in the 18th century called La Homme Machine, which means man the machine. Just as the leg has muscles to walk with, so has the brain muscles to think with. Later on, the French mathematician Laplace expressed an extreme mechanistic view with this idea. If an intelligence at a given so the idea is this: if an intelligence at a given time had known the position of all particles of matter, nothing would be unknown, and both future and past would lie upon before their eyes. The idea here was that everything that happens is predetermined. It was written in the stars, and that something will happen. This view is called determinism.
So there was no such thing as free will.
No, everything was a product of of mechanical processes. Although also our thoughts and dreams. German materialists in the 19th century claimed that the relationship of the thought to the brain was like the relationship of urine to the kidneys and gall to the liver. So it's an output, basically. Right?
Hmm.
It's a mechanistic output.
Mm. But urine and gall are material. Thoughts aren't.
You got all of something central here there, smart girl Sophie. I can tell you a story about the same thing. A Russian astronaut and a Russian brain surgeon were once discussing religion. The brain surgeon was a Christian, but the astronaut was not. The astronaut said, I have been out in space many times, but I have never seen God or angels. And the brain surgeon said, and I have operated on many clever brains, but I have never seen a single thought. Touche, right? But
But
that
that
doesn't
doesn't
prove,
prove.
yeah, go ahead.
But that doesn't prove that thoughts don't exist.
Nope. But it does underline the fact that thoughts are not things that can be operated on or broken down into even smaller parts. It's not easy, for example, to surgically remove a delusion. It grows too, well, we are seeing that every day. It grows too deep, as it were, for surgery. An important 17th century philosopher named Leibniz pointed out that the difference between the material and the spiritual is precisely that the material can be broken up into smaller and smaller bits, but the soul cannot be divided into two.
No. What kind of scalpel would you use for that? Alberto simply shook his head. After a while, he pointed down at the table between them and said,
The two greatest philosophers in the 17th century were Descartes and Spinoza. They too struggled with the questions like relationship between soul and body, and we are now going to study them more closely. Go ahead, but I'm supposed to be sorry.
Oh, go ahead, but I'm supposed to be home by 7.
Uh, so anyway, we have some comments here. Uh, Black Tiger Garu is asking what is solo. Anyway, Ignasu Garu, hello sir. Laplace law, we apply and use it every day in our practice till today. Yep. These are giants of the Western philosophy. All right. So, SK Garu, do you want to do Descartes and Spinoza, or do you want to do them together in the next session?
ఎంతున్నాయి అదే big
Big
chapter.
chapters, huge chapters,
Boo.
and more importantly, huge ideas.
Mm.
Yeah, Descartes is like one of the. It's a. You want to learn Western thought. Descartes is like a central pillar in the modern day thought, basically. So
Oh.
the famous statement, "I think, therefore I am."
Mm-hmm.
And then even in mathematics, one of the early things that is introduced, coordinate geometry. Right? It's also called Cartesian geometry. That comes from Descartes,
Oh.
René Descartes, basically. Yeah. Without the coordinate system, there's no vector algebra. Without vector algebra, there's no modern physics.
Hmm.
Yeah, vector calculus eventually. So I would say we park it,
Yeah.
right? Because I myself want to study the Descartes chapter a couple of times before we get into the session.
Okay.
All right. We'll let Daoji comment on this. The Baroque, if he is free to talk.
Give me, give me 5 minutes. I will reach home then talk.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. So he needs to sit down to talk about these things, I guess. Important chapters. We are covering now we are taking big paces into the Western thought. Right? Forget about the ancient philosophers and Socrates and Plato and all these. Now it's, I mean, some of these methods are in vogue even today, basically, right? So uh, this is like now we are getting to the true meat and potatoes of the Western philosophy and thought. All right, Sikshatin Garu has joined.
Sir,
Hello, sir.
sir, hello, sir. I did not see the time of the.
No, no, it's okay. We are doing it earlier,
Yeah, I
obviously.
thought
It's
it
not
was
easy
at
for.
9. As
Yeah.
yeah, so my mistake, sir.
No, 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 it's all good. It's all good. It's been a good session so far.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, we crossed the Renaissance, we crossed the Baroque. And SK Garu, I'm sure you are starting
yeah.
to see the parallels between the thought process,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And this has been a
So
constant struggle. It's not like the materialists today are posing these questions. It has always been there, and not just in India.
okay, sir. Sir, I have a question, sir. So
Yes, sir.
SK Garu, can you summarize? I want you to summarize what happened. Can you please?
Pass.
No passes, SK Garu. There are no passes.
Vishwa Garu will do that.
No, no, please go ahead, SK Garu. Give it a shot. When somebody asks you, you should not just leave it. Whatever you understood.
Yeah,
You know?
whatever you remember.
See, at the end of the day, it's important that we get people's perspectives after they read it also, right?
Yeah, I'm not trying to pull your leg or something, SK. I just want from your side, analysis from
We
your
read
side.
for
That's
half
all.
an hour. So what did you understand?
Yeah.
Mm.
In your own words.
Trying to think. What did I understand?
Oh, Daoji left. It's okay.
ఏమోనండి. I don't know.
If మీకు కుదిరితే తెలుగులో చెప్పండి అంతే కదా.
నాకు అసలు ఏం చెప్పాలో కూడా తెలియట్లేదులే. ఇంగ్లీషా తెలుగా అని కూడా కాదు.
Okay, no problem. We'll let SK Haru listen again and summarize if she's not comfortable. So I'll give you quick, like a 1 minute summary, sir. So the Renaissance
ఓకే
period
సార్.
was, there was a particular aspect to the Renaissance period that we learned about in the previous session, right? So basically, there was a tussle between the logical people and the church, and slowly Europe was emerging from it, right? And then
రైట్.
it comes to some kind of a direct confrontation during the Baroque period, right? So there's a fighting between the Protestants and the Catholics, right? That lasted many years in certain parts of Europe. And one should remember that only now the EU and the cooperation and everything, at least for the sake of optics, is there. But Europe has been a land of conflict for a much, much longer time, basically. Okay. And that includes the conflicts between the rich and the poor. That includes the conflicts between the Catholics and the Protestants, and the believers and the non believers, basically. And persecution was severe. Human life was never spared, it was treated with impunity. So, the Baroque period, the art is a reflection of the political climate of the time. That's what the Baroque period takeaway is, right? And whenever there was a very extreme display of power or wealth or whatever, there was always an undercurrent of the fact that materialism is just one aspect of human existence. There's also another aspect which is the non-materialistic, right? So it was a period of contrast, extreme contrast almost. So the example that is given is, whenever there is a painting of very luxurious life that the rich people would lead, in the same painting there you would see that the life is not permanent. So there's a skull drawn in the bottom. That kind of
Hmm.
yeah.
All right, sir.
So that's the takeaway from the
For
Baroque.
example, Saint Peter's Basilica in Rome.
Hmm. Go ahead, Doji.
Example. No, I was just giving example of that Baroque period art and architecture.
Yeah. So
So
they
the
wanted to portray
Palace
these
of
contrasts in an
Versailles
extreme
in
fashion.
France.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hmm. It was very big debate na, that time, mind versus body, faith versus reason. So Descartes, Spinoza, and even Newton was also on like that time period is known for these people: Descartes, Spinoza, Newton. They were key thinkers of that time. Science was also
Yeah.
growing in that time, and laws of motion coming, astronomy and physics, all things were coming. So the faith part was like dagmagaw. I don't know the English meaning. In
Right. Right.
Hindi, it's called dagmagaw.
Correct. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I wanted to make one point, Dawji, which is the atheists in this day and age, they claim all the scientific discoveries, realizing little that Newton was actually a religious man.
Yes, no doubt in it. I-
Yeah.
His last years of his life, he studied alchemy. Like he was turning lead into gold. He was trying to do that.
Right.
So nobody is saying that he was like so. When we talk about scientists now, so we say ki this is his work. This work is good. This is for science, and there are some other works that we do not want to include. Or
Correct.
you can name any scientist. Okay, they have somewhat we say problem, not problem in the sense, but somewhat problem. Like he will be a master in one sense, but in the other sense, it will be like something without logic. So even Newton, same goes for our Ramanujan.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was brilliant in math, but he says ki this comes from a deity. Okay, so
Correct.
nobody denies that because it was coming. Like there is no proof how he done that sitting in his chair in his what he do municipal something tune or something I forgot what was his role
Who was it, Dauji?
like he
Oh, Ramanjam. He was like a
Ramanujan.
clerk. Yeah.
Yeah, clerk, sorry, I was forgetting that word, clerk. So he was a
Yeah.
clerk, and the math, all the math in the world where people were thinking that how can we solve this, and he was like, hey lay I solved this, this is the answer. So people were like, how you get this answer? He said, my deity come in my mind and give me in my dreams. So people were like,
Correct.
okay. So every time a scientist, a mathematician, there are some things that we exclude or say, let's not focus on that, let's focus on this. So that's good for Newton also and other scientists also.
Correct.
Yeah, we were
Correct.
discussing Baroque period, na?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and
So
in
the
the end,
chapter is,
yeah.
hmm?
No, in the end of the chapter, there was that exchange between the astronaut and the uh, neurosurgeon, right?
Mhm.
And I think that is the ultimate. It is a very good way to summarize. The astronaut said, "I have
Yep.
traveled the stars or outside the space and everything, but I have never seen God or angels." And the
Yep.
neurosurgeon says, "I have operated on many minds, but I have never seen a thought."
Mm. Yep.
There, that's
That's
a
why this
wonderful.
chapter is like proper interval. You know,
Yeah,
the Baroque chapter is na proper interval. It's come in the middle, okay, of the book, 130, 135 page on the page, and it's
correct.
perfect interval because the Baroque chapter stand out as a turning point, like where
Turning point.
Justin
Yes,
Garder, yeah, because Justin Garder masterfully like blend all the historical philosophy with Sophie's like surreal life, what is going on in his life. He she was like, what is happening, what happened there, what happened there. She was worried about that. Forget it, I'm forgetting words. Somebody was dead or something. Forget
Yeah,
that.
yeah. There's a major that died in the Lebanon war, basically.
Yeah, the major died. Yes. So and then the letter comes. Don't know from where, but the letter comes. So let's
Yeah,
see.
there is a what do you call there's a dramatization for for the character's life that also is quite interesting, along with the philosophical, the
Yeah.
actual philosophy aspect. Totally, totally,
Yep.
100%. And we have Jignasu Garu in the panel. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Sir, namaste to everybody. I'll be brief, I'll speak fast. Since Dauji is also here, I'll just speak in English.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
fascinating, actually.
you can speak in any language, but I will not understand.
No.
You can speak. There is no saying that thou is here, so I need to speak in English. You can speak, but I will not understand.
No worries. I mean, the idea is to be inclusive as much as possible. So
Correct.
Yeah, thank
anyway,
you.
it's fascinating. You guys are going through some of the Renaissance and European history, which I read very little. So actually, this is sort of like a shot in the arm, a stimulus to just go through some of these things. And hey, what Jignasu Garu was saying, I'm sorry, what Vishwapragya Garu was saying. 1 second, let me catch my breath.
Yeah, yeah, go.
I just took about 4 flights of stairs. I'm at work.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Please take your time. There's no rush.
No worries.
This is a philosophy session, so we are the least hurried people on the planet.
So the separation of
Yeah.
church, religion, and God on one side, and logic and science on the other side, were considered two extremes of the spectrum rather than a seamless continuum. Fortunately, in the East, it was always the same spectrum and a seamless continuum that never was a distress point or a flashpoint, versus Western philosophy, thought, and science, which were very much at best fractured. They were so torn apart to the point that people who were politically charged with power, they were always making the other guys run for their lives. The persecution was so much. I'll just give an example. The numbers, mathematics, introducing them into a divine life science like taking care of people, sick people in medicine, was completely prohibited in the society in those days. So, for the first time, the sin was committed by one of the pastors. His name was Reverend Stephen Hales. What he did was, when he started feeling pulses in animals and human beings, partly they were also healers, both mentally and sometimes, they had some crude concoctions, whatever. So he was very fascinated that he could feel the heartbeat in the pulse. And he decided there must be some pressure when the heart is pumping, and I want to know what the pressure is inside an artery. So what he did was he introduced a brass cannula into one of the horse's arteries and then said, "Oh my God, there is a pressure that directs blood, and that's what keeps the creatures alive." For that sin, he was persecuted, killed, and then he was thrown out of the society before he was killed. So just wanted to share that little story. We all study in medicine normally.
Right, right,
And the
right.
sin he committed publicly was announced as for introducing an esoteric scientific method like numbers into a divine life science like medicine. So that was his sin. So, point number 2, as the Renaissance progressed and the scientific thought and everything was emerging, going against the grain was the most popular way of gaining populism and getting your name out on the board. So, in Paris, there are several famous museums. Two of them are big standouts. One is Louvre, it's huge. The other one is called Musée d'Orsay. So when I was making a trip for one of the scientific meetings, we decided Louvre is too big, so let's go to Musée. The beauty of Musée, their tradition is for hundreds of years, they feature the works of certain artists or a certain famous name's works for 2 to 3 months like that, so that people have a chance to appreciate that, understand the history, sink it in, and then it would change. And that culture continues across all the museums in the world. Same thing in San Francisco, same thing in Houston, etc. These days, Phoenix.
I want to add the same thing in the Fields Museum in Chicago.
Yeah, absolutely. So, long story short, when we took a tour for the entire day, fascinating stories. I mean, if you look at a painting, you wouldn't know anything. It's just a bunch of brushstrokes, right? So, but if you take a guided tour, there is a guide who talks about what it meant in the society to be against the grain, so that you're constantly moving the needle of people's psyche and thought in the society, which was fantastic. I mean, it applies more in the Western culture, but it's also an insight to us that I think the East has been centuries and eons way ahead of some of the Western thoughts when it comes to acceptance and tolerance and those terms. So this guy, Edgar Degas, Degas, actually S is silent. So they were featuring Degas, whatever, works. There was one painting, beautiful actually. It was all winter, landscape of French Alps and everything in winter. And there was a farm and a fence and everything. Apparently in those days, late 1800s, oh my God, I don't know, it's regular coffee. I'm not even fancy. Thank you. Sorry. Thanks for pointing that. So long story short, black color is apparently forbidden in paintings. So somebody brought it to this guy's attention and he said, "Who says so? Let me give the middle finger to everybody." It's a beautiful painting, flawless, but in one corner, he painted a big magpie. Magpie is a bird, which is very common in India. He painted a
It's like a big crow, basically.
Yeah, big black magpie perching on the fence in that farm on the winter landscape. It's almost like, showing middle finger. Who says black is not acceptable? FU sort of like. So the Renaissance thought and the thinking has evolved so much over the last few years. It is still reflected in the European psyche and society very much. I thought I would just point those two.
No. This is beautiful. Real life. I mean, I've been to Europe, but not that often. And I've only been to Germany. Right? I haven't seen much else. I've been to the UK, but UK doesn't consider itself Europe anyway. Not anymore after Brexit.
Unfortunately, Germany is land of barbarians, sir.
No, it's okay. You should not say anything. No judgmental statements. There are good people there also. Right. So this is a philosophy stream. So we'll not pass any judgment. We'll ask more questions. That's all. Okay. Thank you for sharing that story, sir. So yeah, I mean, even nowadays in India, people can take a European vacation and then experience all this firsthand, with international travel becoming very commonplace these days, right?
Yeah, sir. There is no appreciation. All the tourists are locked with selfies, photos. They walk around, and then it's all about food and drinking. That's it.
Naji, sorry, go ahead, sir.
No, I was just saying, you just said, na, foreign travel. I was thinking when I will be able to do that.
No, you will be. I'll write it and give it to you. It's just that it's a matter of time and opportunity. And of course, money. We're not going to talk about that. This is a philosophy stream again. So,
And one more thing, very serious, okay? Do not laugh, okay? After listening to Sir talk, na, I think my English is also bad. Even
no,
that I didn't understand.
he speaks in a. First of all, he's at work. He's a doctor. He interacts with a lot of American people. So that's the American style of English. Not to say that that is the only style, right?
Now maths, I
Rauji,
know that. I know
Oh,
that. I can understand that.
I am so sorry if I did not make it
No,
clear. My
no.
apology. I could have.
No,
I'll
no, no, no.
speak
You
No,
did.
slowly next time.
I'm just joking.
No, no,
I'm just
you did,
joking.
sir. You did. So don't worry about
You
it. I'm
did.
just explaining. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand everything.
Rauji,
Yeah.
one thing I have to tell you. You said yours
Hmm.
English is bad, but mine
Uh.
is in ICU. My English is in ICU. All right.
Oh,
So
fortunate we have a
I'm
doctor.
worse. Yeah, Jignasu Garu is a doctor and he's been there since I don't know. It must be 30, 40 years.
Right.
So, he's a-
So anyway,
sir, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jignasu Garu, for sharing the valuable information. Yes.
yeah. By the way, Lu is written Luvre. Okay, for people who want to
I
search the
think it's
museum, right?
LOU, sir.
Yeah, LO, yeah, something like that. Yeah, Lu,
Yeah.
Louvre or something like that. French spelling, right?
Yeah.
So
And it's called, it's pronounced Lou. That's all. Right, sir?
correct. Yeah, exactly. Bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pronunciation. I'm not saying it's a bathroom. I'm saying it's pronounced like hello, the bathroom.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, so I guess that's it. We are at the completion of the hour. Skagar, if you have anything to say, otherwise we'll wrap.
లేదండి I'm good.
You're good. I think Daoji has left. Daoji, bad internet connection or good or whatever, we are assuming you left, and then we are going to close. Please join us again for the next reading, which I'm sure is going to be fascinating because Descartes is one of my favorite characters in the entire European philosophical as well as scientific history.
Sir, sir, before closing, sir, just clarification so that I can remember for the next stream is the timing of the stream, sir. Is it 8:30 or 9 IST?
8 is what I'm shooting for because as the day gets longer, I won't be able to. My kids will wake up and
Okay.
I have to do all kinds of stuff. But
All right,
I'm
sir.
not saying that is all. I mean, we'll once it's scheduled, I'll let you know, sir. But we are trying to do it
Okay.
at 8 Indian time, 8
Okay.
p.m. 9:30
All right.
Central, where I live.
Hello.
But hello,
Yeah,
Daoji.
so
Welcome back.
I'll be watching out
Yeah.
from 8
Use.
IST, sir. Then
We need to use some other platform. I think
For what?
this always kicks me out.
Oh,
Always
that.
kicks me out, man. Whenever I
Yeah.
yeah.
So it is just
Today is
saying that
the fifth time
life
I
is.
got out.
You should take it with a philosophical, like a little bit of a small amount of philosophical salt, which is look. There are
Oh.
some things that we can control. There are some things that we cannot control. You just have
Dauji,
to.
Mm-hmm.
Dauji,
Yeah.
I have a request for you. I have
Yes.
one request. I want you to join anytime if possible to you in Manavahini. There will be conducting a session called Rachavanda. Okay, whenever
Okay.
there is a discussion on Indian philosophy, I want you to share your ideas. I'm actually interested
Okay. So
in your view.
send me link whenever it happens.
Yeah, I think you are subscribed to Manavahini, right?
Yes.
No problem, Daoji. I'll send it. We'll send you a link. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, sir.
Yep.
I
Yep.
want you to join, please. Okay.
See, look, when
Whenever
we're
it is
asking for
possible.
commitment, we should always
Definitely.
give commitment also.
Yeah.
That's the Indian way.
Right, sir.
Yeah.
So it will be around 10, 10:30, 11 at that time. You can join whenever, I mean, it will be conducted almost every day, almost. So, yeah, Shravan sir is here, I
Yeah.
think.
Our Garu has joined. Hello, sir.
Hello,
Hello, sir.
hello. How
Yes,
are
sir.
you all?
Hello, Sarvanga.
Hello, I'm just about to reach
I'm
home.
all good. What about market?
Agora, sir.
Market is
Yeah,
fine.
I knew. I already knew.
Oh, yes, I got it. Hmm.
Yeah.
Just
Tauji, you have to call
returning.
it Agora. This is a Western philosophy stream.
Oh, yes, yes. I also forgot.
Right. Sir, I will just finish my request, sir, to Dauji. So, Dauji, you can speak in English and also in Hindi. Most of us can understand both the languages. So, no problem.
Okay.
And we can also
Hindi is,
communicate with you in, yeah.
Hindi is allowed only on one condition,
Okay.
saying that Hindi is not a national language of India. That you have to agree.
Yeah. Hindi is not a
No
national
language
language.
is
Hindi is an
the
official
national language
language.
of India. There is no such thing as national language of India.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. But
But there
Some
is only
ministers
just for the
official
also
record,
say
language of
that.
India.
yeah, exactly. Tauji, just for the record, I am a hardcore BJP supporter, so you don't have to worry.
No,
And
I don't.
I
I don't
also
give
agree with
a.
you.
No, I don't give a
Damn.
about any party.
Political parties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Dam, that river dam, not any other dam. River dam. I don't give a river dam
All
about
right.
anything, any party.
Got it.
But
Got it.
the fact is that there is no national language of India. So
Most people share
forgetting
that
that,
viewpoint.
let's
Yeah.
yeah. So the Baroque era, the chapter Baroque. I'm eager to like read that next chapter, Descartes.
Yeah.
Descartes.
I'm also very eager. Descartes and Spinoza.
Because you know this is the like main gate of this
Yep.
book. Main gate of this book? No. The main point of this book. The Descartes. When we read the Descartes, na, then the Sophie's world. We know why it's called Sophie's world. Book name. Why it is called Sophie's world. So
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
eager to.
Okay. There is a question here. Let me see.
So
Any
sorry.
change in societal thinking needs a very big catalyst. Any thoughts on what led to a big change like Renaissance?
I think it is the
Explain in normal English.
No, Renaissance. Why did it happen? What was the catalyst for the Renaissance?
Oh, Renaissance.
I think it is the
Renaissance period.
difference.
Yeah. Why did the Renaissance happen in Europe? What was the catalyst? Is the question.
Yes, sir. Sir, what I'm thinking is the extreme differences between the rich and the poor, sir. That is what I'm thinking.
Definitely.
First
That's
thing,
only, that's only one of them. There's also this whole the church being too oppressive. Right?
There are many reasons.
yeah,
Like the
yeah,
major
both of them,
reason
sir.
I can think about is like. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, both of them. The so-called tithe. See, the 10th portion of what you earn has to be given to church, and all the taxes that have been levied on the common people as what do we call it, sir? Is it serfdom or feudalism? So,
Feudalism.
Feudalism.
Yeah, it is
Feudalism.
feudalism. Yeah. So all of them, sir. All of them led to the so-called Renaissance.
Yeah, go ahead. Doji. There's
Hey,
also the
I want to
Protestant
ask.
movement. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and there was some fall of that. I remember the date 1453, but I don't know the name. Like remember the date when Ottoman Turks captured that Byzantium.
In,
Byzantium. So the
Byzantine
Greek
Empire.
scholar fled to Italy that time.
correct.
Yeah, and then same time that trade was also happening. Europe went to Middle East, and all these things make that ideas from one place to another place, and then comes the Renaissance. That's my
Right.
view.
No,
Weakening of the
Yes,
absolutely.
sir.
feudalism
But
system.
yes, sir. One thing I have to add, sir, but because I don't know if I can say this in this session, but uh, as as it is said, the winners write the history. So I don't know how much
Hmm.
of the history that we read is actually correct.
No, that is there. The only thing is
Hmm.
because we are taking a philosophical viewpoint, it is at least
Yes.
less impacted by the winners writing the history.
Yeah,
Mm.
and
Yeah. This-
we should add that like rich city state na, like for art to develop, for philosophy to develop, you need a rich city. Not like there are some exceptions, but like Florence, Venice, these were like powerful merchant cities in some way. So they founded art, architecture, learning spaces. So this is also some, like when I read about Renaissance, so there are some factors like some say that in the period Black Death came, like Black Death killed millions. So it
Correct.
shifted the power that we need labor now. So people said we need labor. So they became valuable. So they moved to cities. So that was like people going one place to another place, and on them that same time the Greek and Roman people like texts who were preserved by Muslims, like what we say, Islamic world. So the trade also happening in between Europe and Islamic world. So that time ideas, knowledge gone from one place to another place. At the same time, the Greek scholar was also going to Italy because of that Ottoman thing I told. So this all came together, and then comes Renaissance. That's what I read, matlab, till now. Maybe there are some other factors also. And then, like, if I remember, like printing press was also made in that time also, no? That time period, in that time period.
Yeah, printing press is 1465, sir, I think. Yeah,
Hmm.
1465.
So that is also a
Yeah, that is
milestone, I would say.
exactly, sir. You're absolutely right.
Hmm.
That changed
Okay.
many things, actually.
Yeah. After speaking so many English word, English word, my mind is like, hey, stop, stop. Now it's the peak. You are hitting the roof now. So
Sir,
many English words.
I'm not thinking, sir. I'm just speaking what is coming to mind. If I'm
Right.
conscious, my
Hmm.
English will go to ICU once again.
Don't worry about it. So anyway,
Yes, sir. All right, sir. I think
yeah. So I think we'll conclude the session. And again, I'd like to thank SK Garu, Davji, Sikshardhan Garu, Jignasu Garu, Lawyer Garu for joining the panel and providing their valuable inputs. It's wonderful to have a very diverse panel like this, both in terms of age as well as experience, as well as gender and ideas, basically. Right? Yeah. Davji's internet is.
yeah. I think we should
No, no,
close,
hang
sir.
on. He wants to say something, sir. Hang on. Go ahead,
Okay.
Davji.
All right, sir. Daoji?
I have a question. I'm saying,
Yes, yes,
Yes,
please go
please.
ahead.
am I
Now
able
we can hear
to?
you.
Hello.
Yes, yes, yes. Now we
Yes.
So
can
my
hear you.
question
We
is,
can hear you. Yeah.
Sophie asked that it's my story or someone is writing this
Mm.
for me. So have you
Mm.
ever thought about it before knowing the world, before thinking, like reading books in childhood? Also came in our mind also, like after seeing some show or books, something like that. That are we real, or this is someone writing a comic book and we are just a character in that, side character, I
Yeah,
would say.
yeah, good question. So is everything preordained and you're just a character in the play, right? That's the question.
Yep.
The answer is I don't know.
Because
I
in
haven't
this
thought.
chapter, na, they say this, we all are just a
Correct,
piece.
correct. The Shakespeare uh, question, right? Or the postulate, right? And it is there even in our
Yep.
philosophy, right? Is it all preordained, or do you have a free will where you can actually impact your life? I want to believe the
Yes.
second situation, that you actually have uh,
Mm.
some power in your hand to uh, change the outcomes of certain things, right? That's my
Okay.
stance. Okay. And I'm not
Mm.
going to logically argue it, because in the end, I believe that it comes down to uh, your mindset. You know, maybe it is
Not.
preordained. Maybe it is preordained, but your voice is cutting out badly.
In
Yeah, we can't understand what you're saying.
like relativity, we see like not parallel. Far
Dawji,
away galaxy.
your connection is
If
very
I
bad,
stay in my
Dawji,
city,
and I think it is also there is also a delay. We didn't understand. We have to.
You have to repeat yourself,
Can you
sir.
hear us, Dawji? Can you hear us? I think there is a problem, sir.
I
Dawji, unable to hear you at all. Completely, your voice is getting distorted. Hello. Dawji, your voice is gone completely. There seems to be a signal issue at your end. Yeah, he has dropped it. ఏమైంది
Yeah, so
Yes, sir.
probably we'll
We can hear you.
end here, and
Okay.
we'll pick up where Dawji has left in the next session.
All right, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
So even my daily chores beckon, so I have to attend to something. So with that said,
Okay.
again, thanks everybody who heard the session, who listened to it, and who are going to listen to it in the future. Please like and subscribe. We'll come back to you with another reading session of Sophie's World.